Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here. Today I'm going to be showing you on how to install these multicolor LED strips for your R3. Now the clips I'm going to be using are going to be from a previous installation or disassembly of the headlights, just to save me some time. Also, I've been wanting to do this video for such a long time, and when I was about to do this video, my computer actually crashed. So I was never able to actually show you guys on how to install these multicolored DRLs. You're also going to see some old footage of the bike when it was pretty much not looking like this and a little bit different. So, but pretty much the concept's still the same, everything's still the same. I just kind of wanted to show you guys on how to take apart your headlight out of the bike and show you on how to actually do these type of multicolor LED strips. Alright, so now let me show you the tools that you're going to need to do this particular installation. Okay, here are the basic tools you're going to need to remove the whole front end of your bike. Start off on this side. You're going to need a handle for a 4mm Allen key, 5mm Allen key on the top, screwdriver, Phillips head, and any Ziploc bag so you can put the screws and everything inside of those in the bag so we don't lose them. Okay, now to remove the front end of our headlight, we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to start removing some of these panels to get to this hidden screws that are behind this plastic. So in order to remove this, even though you only see 2 screws here, there is actually a hidden tab behind here that locks it in place. So in order for us to get to this tab, we need to remove this screw here and this screw here. So we're going to go ahead and remove this cover first. Okay, now that we have this cover removed, now as you can see, here is a plastic Phillips screw. Zoom in there for you guys. Alright, so there's the plastic Phillips screw that we need to remove. That's the hidden tab I was telling you about. So we're going to go ahead and remove that with your Phillips screwdriver. And then next we're going to be removing, after that, we're going to remove it with this screw here, this screw over here on this side, and on the inside, which is going to be kind of hard for me to show you with the camera, but I'll show you over here with this one. And the inside over here on the side, there's going to be 2 screws that actually are plastic that look like this one here. So there's 2 of those plastic ones on the side panel of this piece over here. So don't forget to remove all those pieces. Also forgot to mention, sorry guys, whatever you do on one side, you want to make sure you do it on the opposite side, the same exact thing. So the same exact thing is going to apply for both sides because they're both assembled the same way. Also, if you find it a little difficult to get on the side over there with your normal Phillips head, I found that this to be very helpful. It's just a small Allen style Phillips that goes with that adapter of the handle over there that I had previously showed you with the tools. So it's only a small plastic screw. You just turn it a little bit and then it pops right out. It's not like they're torqued down or anything. Okay, now that we have this cover right here removed, now next we're gonna have to remove is this screw right here. So without removing that cover here, that kind of covers the screw, so that's why we needed to remove this cover here so you could get this screw. So it's gonna be the same on both sides. Once you remove it, just remove this further one towards the edge here. That's the screw we want to get to. Also very important, sure as you're pulling your screw out, put it right away to your Ziploc bag and then go ahead and close it. So in case you tip over your bag, your screws are not going to fall over the floor. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this cap with your screwdriver. All you're just going to put it in here and just pop it out. Once you pop it out, it'll look like this, where you're going to have a screw for the Allen key. And that's going to be the 5mm. Then after that, we're going to do this on both sides. We're going to go ahead and remove our windscreen, and that's going to be with these screws here. Make sure you remove all 4 of them on both sides. I also wanted to mention, if you've never removed your mirror before, to get to these screws, what you're going to do is you're going to grab your mirror and then just pull it forward towards you. It should move fairly easy. Just give it a little bit of force and then move it. Don't worry, you're not going to break it. These mirrors can go as far as up to there. After that, they don't go any further because it gets stopped by this little stopper here. So they can go, this is as far as they go. And you got here in the middle, all the way in the normal position. And then you could also push them in as far as here if you are stowing your bike away or to get into a tighter space in your storage or wherever you're parking your bike. You could go up to this position. So in order to take off the mirrors, put your mirror, I would say, right there centered, and now you have access to getting to these 2 bolts a lot easier. As you can see, you could go ahead and turn it, and if need be, you could move the mirror just a little bit so you could get access to the screw. And that's how you remove your mirrors. Okay, once you get all the screws off, now you're able to actually remove this front fairing and then just push it forward. So just go and just push it forward, and that unleashes the clips that are over here also. Put your fingers under here at the bottom of the front, and then be careful pulling it out. So there you go. So now you have it out. So now that we got this whole front end fairing off, now we can go ahead and remove this the front windscreen. Okay, to remove the front windscreen, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have to grab it from here and here and then pull up on it, because if you notice in this little hole there is a little tab that slides into it. But before you do that, go ahead and remove these rubber grommets, because that's also to hold it in place. So there's one on here, this side, and then one on this other side. So just go ahead and remove those out. They pop out pretty easily, and then you could go ahead and just pull this out. And there you go. And then just as a security measure, you could just go ahead and pop these little guys right back in, so that way you don't lose them. Or if you want to put it in your Ziploc bag, you can go ahead and do so too. So there's 4 rubber pieces, one here, 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 and here. Now you could go ahead and you could put this off to the side, and let's get to the next section. Okay, next we're gonna have to do is we're gonna remove this little plastic cover, and it's pretty easy. Just go ahead, it's just attached to this front part of your gauge cluster. Just go ahead and lift it up and then pull it out. So go ahead and pull it out. That's pretty easy, because all it does is connect it here with these little tabs on the underneath part right there, and then this lip part just go underneath the gauge cluster. Go ahead and put that off to the side for now. Alright, now let's move on to the next part. So the next part is to remove the whole headlight out of the bike. Now next, to remove the whole headlight housing, what we need to do also is underneath of the bike, you're going to notice there's more of these little plastic screws. So we got this little plastic screw here, and then there's also a regular screw over here behind my, you may not have the LEDs on yours, so behind mine is the screw right there. So these are going to be the 2 screws that we need to remove, so we could get to remove this whole headlight housing, and that's going to be on both sides. Okay, once you get to this point, now before we do anything else, if you have HIDs like I do, so I'm going to go ahead and right now and disconnect my HIDs on both sides. Okay, now that my HIDs are disconnected, the next we're going to do is we're going to remove that screw right here on that side, and same thing on this side, there's going to be a screw here. So those are going to be the 2 screws we need to remove. Okay, now that we've removed pretty much all the screws on the top and all the screws in the bottom, which were those 2 little plastic ones on these sides, now next is to remove the 4 screws that are actually holding the whole entire headlight in on the bike. So there's 4 screws. It's 4 Phillips screws. Let's see if I could get a good view for you guys. So there is one right there, and it's the same thing on both sides. So there's one right there and on this top part, and then towards the bottom it's going to be a little difficult to see, but if I could point it out to you, which it's going to be right there at the bottom, right by my finger, and here are the 2 arrows indicating the 2 screws you need to loosen up. Now one thing is that it could be tricky to get into those locations with a normal screwdriver, but if you have a smaller Phillips screwdriver, it'll be a lot easier to get into these screws. So you're gonna have to move the handlebars left and right to get in contact with to remove those screws. I use something like this, which is a ratcheting style of screwdriver. Comes in handy a lot, especially for these tight areas. If I don't use the extension, I can actually put the bit onto the ratcheting part. So let me show you that. Okay, so without the extension, this is how it looks like on the thing. So this works very well for very tight space areas. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove those 4 screws. So like I said, there is 2 on this side, and same thing on the other side is 2 the same. Okay, so you're going to have to remove this bolt right here, which is a 10mm, and then you have to remove this screw right over here to get to the screw that's behind here. That's a 4mm Allen key. Okay, once you get this screw out, if you pop this out and remove it, so we can show you, there is that bolt right there. That's also another 10mm, and you're gonna have to take that out also. Okay, once you remove that one bolt, now you can see that your whole side fairing is loose. Now you can actually push this or like try to like slide it out. So also this could be getting a little tricky because there is points right here alongside the edge of the headlight that connect to this to actually hold it in place. There we go. Alright, so now that I loosened it, as you can see, it did take some moving around and wiggling on the parts to get it loosened. But now that it's loosened, I can show you from this side on how it looks like. So as you can see from this side, it's already come apart from the headlight. Now let's see, we can go ahead and remove the headlight. Okay, so I was able to wiggle it and actually get it out to this point. I kind of almost forgot to tell you. That's why I kind of left it here so I could show you. don't forget to disconnect your triangle light, because that part is still connected for me, so I wanted to show you on YouTube for you guys too. I'm gonna zoom in on the connector. So this is how the connector looks like. It just comes out from your triangle light and connects to your bike. So to do that, just push down on this little tab and then pull it out like so. It shouldn't take that much force to do it. It's pretty simple and pretty easy to remove. So once you do that, now you can go ahead and remove your headlight assembly off from the bike. Okay, so whatever you do, make sure that you always have two hands holding the headlight, because once you get it out of the headlight stay bracket, it's just gonna fall out. So make sure you take it out carefully. Make sure that you had unplug everything you needed to unplug from your headlight. As you could see on mine, this is the back of mine, because I do have the angel eyes, demon eyes, and you name it on this headlight, I have it. So like I said, just be careful with everything on yours. So once you have your headlight off, now you can just go ahead and put this off to the side. Okay, so now that we removed our headlight, so now we're able to remove this plastic piece. Now to remove this plastic piece, that it's just a little like a mask that goes over it. Okay, so now to remove this plastic one, if you flip it over, you're going to notice that there's going to be 4 screws. So to remove it is going to be this screw up here and this screw down here, and it's going to be the same on both sides. So screw here, screw here. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention there is a screw right down the center. If you could kind of see right there, there's going to be 1 screw over there, and then a screw here on this side, and a screw over here on that side. So make sure you remove all 5 of those screws, and once you do so, this mask that's covering our headlight is going to come right off. Okay, now that you have your headlight off of your bike, and if you notice, this headlight is actually the stock headlight of the R3. Now, if you're wondering why I have the stock headlight compared to the other projector headlight that I have on my bike, it's because I bought an additional headlight for my bike. I didn't want to use my projector headlight one. I still like that look, and maybe possibly would like to put it back on my bike. So I bought this stock one. So this will be my kind of, I would say, kind of like a guinea pig for doing future projects with. So that's the reason on why this one looks not like the one we just took off the bike. Now if you have the original still on your bike, so this would be how your headlight would look like, and if not, you'll be doing it on the one you just took off your bike. So whichever headlight you have on your bike, that's what you have taken off, and that's what we're going to be working on. So now that you got your headlight off, now next what we're going to do is we are going to take off the pieces that we don't need, because we're going to put this into the oven. So first off, we are going to take these 2 covers off. Next we're going to do is we're going to take out the center light, which should just pull right out. So we'll just go ahead and pull that out. You may have to wiggle it a little bit to pull it out, but once you get it out, it should come out pretty easy. Okay, now that we got the covers off, next we're going to do is we're going to take out the bulbs out of there. Now if you look inside here, you're going to see the spring. So to take out the bulb, you got to push in the spring and then push it that way. So push it in and then push it out, and that kind of releases the little spring, and then push this down and you're able to take out your bulb. So you want to do that for both sides. So push the same thing, push it in, push it out, and your bulb just comes right out. So we're going to put off to the side. So now that we got our 2 bulbs out, we got our covers off, and we got our center bulb out. Next what we're going to do, after that you can just put these little springs back in. Now next what we're going to do is we're going to take out this center triangle piece. Now the reason we're going to take out the center triangle piece is because I'm not 100% sure on the quality of the plastic. Get your screwdriver and you're just going to lift up on these tabs, that one and this one. Once you get that, put the screwdriver in between this area here, and then just pull it out like that. So there's a few tabs. There's these 2 here, and then there's these 2 on the side. So you just want to do the same thing. You just want to lift it. You don't want to go too much because you don't want to break the tab. So there, and one over here, and then once you there you go, it came right out. So now you can just go ahead and put this off to the side. Okay, so now that your headlight is pretty much free of everything, now we're going to go ahead and throw it into the oven. Make sure you preheat your oven at 350 degrees. Okay, so now that we're here at the oven area, we are going to preheat. Go do a quick preheat on the oven. Make sure it's set to 350 degrees. Once it's already preheated, I will show you what to do next. Okay, now that we got our oven preheated, we are going to open it up, and as you can see, I actually forgot to mention to you to make sure that you have a piece of aluminum foil on that part. Okay, so we're gonna grab our headlight and we are going to turn it the other way, and we're going to slide it in. The reason for is after the timer goes off, we have an actually spot for us to grab it to pull it out. Alright, so you don't have to put it all the way in, just put it right around here. Alright, so once you put it in there, we're going to close it and we're going to put the timer at 4 minutes. That should give us enough time for it to actually heat it up and give us enough time to actually work on it before it actually starts to cool down. So I'm going to go on a timer. I'm going to put 4. Every oven is different. Mine is like that, and I'm going to push start. It gives us a 4-minute timer. Once the timer's up, we're going to grab our oven mitt and we're going to take out our headlight, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, now that your headlight is ready, we are going to cancel that whole timer thing. And now let's go ahead and take out our headlight. Now at this time you want to make sure that you work quickly because you only have a certain amount of time to actually pry the plastic covers off of the headlight. So it's going to go ahead and put that there. We're going to also have our ointment, and we're going to grab our screwdriver and pry open on these tabs. So I could do this without covering too much of the camera here. So just lift it up a little bit, and then at the same time trying to pull it out. And then also stick your screwdriver in these cracks areas, and then just kind of wiggle them out. So as you notice, there's a few tabs. There's one here. Okay, so we point out all the areas with the tabs. One right here, one over here. There is one inside over here. I know it's kind of hard to see it from the camera. And then there is these 2 at the bottom, and then there's one here on the side. So like I said, just put the screwdriver in, lift it up to loosen the glue from the plastic, and then try to pull out your headlight. So just try to do the best you can as it's still warm. You'll have time. If you notice that it's getting a little harder to actually pull it apart from the plastic, then you want to go ahead and throw it into the oven again and put it in for another few more minutes. Okay, so the 4 minutes will give you enough time to actually take the covers off. Once we get the covers off, we're left with this open part of the headlight. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing our daytime running lamps. Daytime running lamps we're going to be using are these ones. We're going to grab our X-Acto blade, and then we're also going to get blue painter's tape. And you want to make sure it's the wide kind, so that way you have enough space to like make your design, to cut all our stencil, and then not use so much tape for the cover. So now when taking out, doing a piece of tape, you want to make sure you do it the same length as our black bracket. So we're just going to go ahead and put that on there, make sure it's on there really nice. And then next we're going to do is we're going to grab our bracket, and we're just going to hold it down right there. And the part that we want to cut is going to be on the inside of this bracket. We're not going to cut from the outside because that's the part we're going to glue, and we don't want that to show through on our bracket. We just want that center part. So it's going to be this center piece that's going to be cut from our painter's tape, because that's the part we're going to cover on our headlight cover, and we're going to mask that part off. Okay, so now that we got our pen, we're going to grab our bracket and just try to be careful. Just try to do the best you can on holding it down. I know since it's light metal, aluminum, it can get tricky on Alright, so there we go. So now we have our cutout, or our traced mark. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our X-Acto knife, and then we're just going to go ahead and just go over the line and cut this piece out. So this part is going to be actually covered on the lens while we spray paint the rest of it with the Plasti Dip Black finish that we're going to do. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to actually we're going to make sure that we have our cover here, and we're going to clean the surface of our cover, because we don't want to spray paint and find out that the cover is kind of dirty and the paint will not stick. So what we're going to do first, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean these up. A nice microfiber cloth, wipe it down from our fingerprints that we had left on there. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so the paint that we're going to be doing, we're going to be spray painting from the outside of the cover, because on the inside we're going to be putting our LED. So we don't have to do nothing with the inside of the cover. All the stuff is going to be painted from the outside. So now we wanted to make sure where we're going to be putting our painter's tape. Go ahead and remove it off of our table here. I think it would have been a lot more easier. So let's get a little corner here. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove it. Give us enough where it could actually grab onto it. Okay, so now let's grab our LED, And like I said, let's go ahead and put it on the inside. Make sure you're careful not to scratch the glass on the inside because that would suck. Towards the edge right here and towards the top, just hold it there. And now let's grab our painter strip, and also be careful that it doesn't roll up on you here. Alright, so that's about it for this headlight cover. Press it, give it a good firm press, make sure all the air bubbles are out, and done. Alright, so there we go. So that's our first strip. So next we're going to do is before we start painting, you want to make sure you do this for both covers. Make sure you wipe it down with the microfiber cloth again, and then we're going to go ahead and spray paint the Plasti Dip Black on there. Okay, now that we've already masked off both headlight covers, also want to mention that we are also going to be spray painting this triangle cover black, because on the R1 they don't have a triangle light on the center. We're not going to have a light in there at all. We are going to have our little light bulb in there, but we're not going to actually connect it to give any light. Now if you're asking me why I'm going to use the Plasti Dip, is because Plasti Dip is removable. Even though we spray painted it all black, if you don't like it or you want to change up the lights or you want to do something different in the future, you could always get a piece of the edge and then you could just peel it right off and you'll still have your headlight cover. Okay, so now that we're going to be spray painting our headlights, you want to make sure that it's free of any fingerprints or whatnot, and you want to make sure you use your microfiber cloth to clean this area. The only reason I'm using my fingers is just to wipe it down these areas, but like I said, you use the microfiber cloth to get it all off. Okay, so what we're going to be using is going to be our Plasti Dip as our flat black finish. You don't want nothing shiny. And it also, if you're going to be painting indoors, make sure you have a well ventilated area. Open up a window, use a fan, whatnot, because you don't want to be breathing the vapors in of the spray paint. You want to go ahead and give it a good shake, and then for the first coats, you want to make sure you do between 6 to 7 inches away from the headlight. And we're just going to do back and forth motions and doing light coat at the beginning. And we're going to, as we're putting more coats, we're going to go darker and darker. So I'll show you what I mean right now. Just give it a little test shot. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to spray paint the front of our cover, just like a light coat. Not too heavy, just want to make sure you get the coverage, and that's about it, I would say. Now we're going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to repeat the process over and over until it's completely dark and black. And don't forget to get the edges of the plastic, because you want to make sure that everything is all dark. Just keep on doing that, and if you have enough space to do both of your covers, as you can see I have a big mess over here. Here's the other cover, so just go ahead and do the same thing, just a light coat on both of these. Let it dry, and then keep repeating the process until they're completely dark and black. And don't forget to do the edges on the covers too. Okay, now that looks like we're done actually spray painting the cover with Plasti Dip. Even though you see the cover as pretty much being already covered with the matte black, we're actually going to be doing a light see-through test, meaning that from the opposite side, we're going to hold this lens cover up to the light and see how much light actually passes through it. And that will let us know on how, if we have any spots where it needs to have a little bit more spray paint on there. Even though we're only going to have the light coming through this strip, I really don't want any other areas to be too light and to allow any other, the light to pass through it, because even though the light will come here, if it's lighter down here, if it's not too much paint there, it'll actually show a little light down there, and I don't want that. I want it to be only this strip to light up. So let's go ahead and we're going to put this up to the light. Now let me show you what I mean. Alright, so there's our light source right there. Okay, now we're going to grab our headlight cover, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip it so we could see from the inside of the cover. So this is the inside of the cover. We're going to hold it up to the light, and we're going to see how much light passes through the paint. And as you can see, there is some spots that need more attention. Over here in the corner, it looks like there's not that much paint, but as we go towards the inner part of it, or more towards the corner, you could see that not much light at all actually passes through it. So let me see if I comb my hair. Okay, so right towards the corner here, looks like it's really nice and dark, minus the edge at the top there. But as we go towards the other side, you could see the light passing through it, so there's not that much paint coverage that I did. So it looks like we need to spray paint a little bit more on this side of the lens cover compared to over here there's no light, but towards the end. So this is what we're looking at. So it looks like from that test we just did, looks like I have more paint coverage here, but as we go towards this area, you could see that that the light was shining through it, and over here the light was really shining through it. So even though you see it over here as a dark color and it looks like it's already done, we actually need to put a few more layers Plasti Dip on this side, and then we're gonna do that light test again and make sure that there's no light passing through it at all. And you want to do the same thing with this cover. You want to do the same thing with the other cover. And then as far as the little triangle piece, this one, it doesn't really matter, you know, a few coats, as long as you get it nice and even. As you could see, the light's passing through it over here, but it doesn't really matter because we're not going to actually have any light in this cover. So we just wanted to paint this black so it doesn't really show on the bike. I already sprayed a few more coats, and as you can see, it's still drying. But now let's put it through the light and see how much light passes through from the other side. Okay, so we have it pointed up to our light. Now let's put our cover there and see how much light passes through the other side. And as you can see, there is no light passing through. So it's looking pretty good. Once you accomplish the no light passing through the cover, you're all set to go, and then I can show you what to do next. Okay, now that we have our cover back from the painting, I actually let the cover sit overnight because I wanted to make sure that when I touched the cover, it didn't leave any fingerprints or smudges. So next what we're going to do is we're going to remove our tape that we put so we have the light shine through it. And in this part, you want to make sure you're careful because when you peel the tape off, you don't want it to peel the paint with it. So just grab your hobby knife and try to get towards the edge of the tape and see if you could get a corner of it. Now if you're doing this process and you actually start getting a corner of it and you notice that it's actually pulling the paint with it because it is Plasti Dip, what you want to do is make sure your hobby knife is sharp enough, but so you want to start cutting alongside the tape here. But make sure you don't press hard enough, because if you do press hard enough, you're going to actually go through the paint and then it could actually start scarring up the plastic underneath it, and you definitely don't want that, because if you ever decide to remove the Plasti Dip, you're going to be left with a big rectangle cut mark on the plastic. So in this case, I'm gonna grab my knife and I'm just gonna lightly press and cut the tape out, just making a line so that way when I do take the tape out, it doesn't take the paint with it. Okay, I started taking the tape off, but it looks like proving difficult because as you could see, when I pull on it, it actually pulls the Plasti Dip with it. I'm actually grabbing my hobby knife and pointing away from the Plasti Dip and just poking a hole cut on the Plasti Dip. And that's why I'm doing it, just because, like I said, I don't want to scratch the plastic. So I'm just cutting away on it. And as I do it, I'm also pressing the Plasti Dip onto the plastic so that way it could adhere back to the plastic. So I guess it just happened to be that way just because of the amount of Plasti Dip I used to make sure that the light doesn't come through on the plastic. So at this point, it's going to be really tedious on actually peeling the masking tape off of the plastic cover. As you could see, it came out pretty well. Now mind you, not all the lines are going to be perfect, as you can see, but from a far distance you're not going to even tell. Only the person, if you've worked on it, you're going to notice all the imperfections, but you know, for what it's worth, it came out pretty decent. Okay, so now that we already got all that out of the way, the LED kit that we're going to be using is going to be this strip of LEDs. We want to have to cut it to size so we could put it into our headlights. And as you can see, this LED strip is kind of dirty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it, and to clean it we're going to grab a little bit of alcohol, paper towel, and we're just going to give it a little bit of a wipe down to get some of this dirt off of the LED strip. Now the strip is made out of silicone, so it cleans out pretty easy, and as you can see, that's how much dirt was on this strip. So anytime you're going to install some strips onto your bike, you always want to make sure you give it a good clean before installing it. It comes with a remote, but you could also opt in for a Bluetooth controller. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Alright, so there we go. It's a little bit on the bright side, so I'm going to go ahead and dim down the colors. So maybe it'll come out on the camera a little bit better. Maybe not that one so much, but as you can see, these other ones, it comes out with some pretty good options. Alright, so I lowered down the color on the camera a little bit, the brightness, so you guys could see the designs that this LED strip has. Okay, I also wanted to show you a little bit about the system. The system is going to come with this small little regulator. This is the little wireless remote controller. It's called a mini RF remote controller, and this is where it captures a signal. So when you push this, it gets a signal, and that's how it turns on the system. And then obviously you got your power leads, which is the positive and negative cables, and then they just connect to here. So alright, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so now first things first, we want to make sure that we measure our little viewing windows that we have on our headlight housing. As you can see, there it is. It came out nicely after we had spray painted it. So let's go ahead and measure our little window, because that's how much LED strip we're going to need to cut. So it's measuring at 6.5 inches. So it'd be right there. Okay, so at 6.5 inches, that's what we have measured. Now we're going to go to our LED strip and we're going to measure 6.5 inches on the LED strip starting from this end. So let's go ahead and put our ruler there, and at 6.5 inches it is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it with a little marker, put a little mark on there, and then we're going to get our hobby knife and we're going to make a little slit in here, because I'm not sure exactly if an LED is there or not, or if we're right on the mark. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and cut out the silicone part of the tube and pulled out the LEDs so you could see on how the LEDs are. Okay, as you can see, I do have the LEDs on, and I have them on the very dim setting. That way you guys could see the increments that you're able to cut the LED strips. So as you can see, you could cut per single LED. And if you notice that there is some arrows pointing in this direction. Alright, so I went ahead and I measured 6.5 inches. So 6.5 inches from this direction over here. So if I measure this way, you could see that the 6.5 inch mark is right on this part here. So that's where I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut right there on the line. You got to make sure that you cut on the line, because if you don't, you'll be an LED short. So go ahead and we're going to cut right on the line, and then we're going to go ahead and also measure the silicone sleeve at the 6.5 inch, and we're going to cut the sleeve in half and then reinstall this LED strip inside the sleeve. Also, before I forget, you want to make sure that you have your LED system off. You definitely don't want to cut the strip with the LED system on, because these are live, and if you use your metal scissors, you can cause a short in the system, and therefore you'll render the LED strip no good and completely useless. Okay, I just got done cutting the strip, as you could see. Now it's a lot shorter. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug it back to the system. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the sleeve on. Just going to go ahead and just slide it right on in there. And then I'm going to probably put a little bit of silicone sealant to actually hold the LEDs in place. So I'll put some silicone sealant on this end, and then I'll put a little bit of silicone sealant on this end as well. Okay, so now let's turn on the system. They're both connected, and make sure everything is good. And as you can see with the reflection on the table, you're able to see if any LEDs are out. Alright, so let's go through the colors, make sure everything's good. Okay, let's go through the modes. Make sure they're both going in the same pattern, or same direction, I would say. And they are. Okay, so next we're going to be using to attach that strip onto the inside of this is going to be called Liquid Nails. It's a Home Projects epoxy adhesive, and this works really well with silicone. I'll have also a link on, pretty much I have a link for all the products I'm using in this video in the description below. So let's go ahead and attach our LED strip on the inside. Now what we're going to do, normally when I do strips on the inside of the headlights, as you saw before, on my original white DRL, I've always used the cables, and we would always put it on the edge on this side. But because of this particular style of LED that we're using, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to have this end of the cable on the inside part right over here. So as you see already, I already made a 90-degree bend on the cables, as you see, and we're going to go ahead and install that on the inside. Okay, at this point I would say just grab a normal microfiber towel and lay it on the countertop or tabletop of wherever you're working at, because you definitely don't want to get any of this part scratched up. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. As you see, this part, this is actually just leftover epoxy from when I did the regular white DRLs for the R3. Alright, so just one more further inspection on the LED strip. I do see some dust particles on there, so I'm going to give it another wipe down with the alcohol. Okay, after consistently wiping it a lot, I don't see any more dust particles on there. It is very clean. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attach it on the inside. Pretty much just go ahead and set it in there and make sure that everything's good on the inside with the cable situation. Now when we flip it on the other side, Go ahead and hold that in there. So on the other side, you're going to notice that when you press the silicone sleeve onto the plastic, actually it's not well, it's sort of doing it. If you really press it really hard, you're going to notice this line on there. So I had to darken up the camera so you guys could see exactly what I'm talking about. So you could see this kind of shadow line on there. That's because I'm pressing the silicone sleeve onto the plastic of the headlight. Now you definitely don't want to have that, just because it kind of ruins the look of having the LED strip in there. So I would say try to back it off a little bit from that area, and as you can see that as soon as I backed it up, the line disappeared. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you also want to make sure you're mindful when you're doing this, when installing this and putting that the liquid nails glue on there, is just make sure that when you put it that it's not touching. So when it's not touching, you can see a nice clear look, at the same time not leaving any clear white spots. So you can see right there, if I left it like that, you're going to see this like clear area where you could see right through it. You definitely don't want to have something like that. So make sure you put the LED right where it's supposed to be, and then go ahead and start putting your epoxy from the inside. Okay, so after replacement of the LED and being very careful, I decided to do just little dabs of glue to hold it in place, as you can see. So I'm just going to let this dry. It's going to approximately take, I would say, a good 6 to 8 hours to really cure. And then you want to do the same thing with the other one. Okay, so the next things we're going to do right now is actually we are going to put our covers right back onto the headlight housing. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our cable, and we're just going to put it right through here at the bottom, like so. So as you can see, I already fed it through, and we're just going to pull on the cable. Make sure you don't pull on it too hard, because you don't want to rip the cable on the back of our cover here. So just go ahead and keep pulling on the cable, and as you're holding on to this front cover, once you get to about here, then we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put our cover right back onto the headlight housing. So just make sure everything is lined up. Once it's lined up, then you're going to go ahead and you are going to press the cover right back inside. And just make sure that everything's nice, and you should be able to hear the snaps in. If it doesn't snap in, that's fine, because we did put the whole headlight in the oven. We're not going to put it back in the oven because we don't want our Plasti Dip to melt or to bubble up or whatnot. So in this case, we are going to still heat up the locations, but we're going to use a heat gun around the edges, heating up the factory glue and then snapping it back in place. Okay, so next what you're going to need some pliers and your heat gun. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to turn on the heat gun now because it's going to make too much noise and you won't be able to hear what I'm saying. But put your heat gun on high. So put it on high, and then around, I would say 3 to 4 inches, and then just go on a sweeping motion. You don't want to concentrate your heat too much on one spot, because you will melt all of the plastic away. So what you're going to do is you're just going to move in a sweeping motion, and then grab your pliers and then just grab it from the lip right there, and you're going to just press it in. You're going to notice that it's going to get really soft, and it'll go in more easier as you're doing it. So just go in a sweeping motion, and until you close it, get it close enough to where these tabs just go in place and lock in. Okay, so you want to do that for both sides. As you can see, I already got started on both sides. And then next we are going to grab is our little triangle cover. Now don't forget, with our little triangle cover, there is a seal that goes around here on the edge to keep rainwater out. And if you notice, it kind of came apart when we were taking it off. It's not supposed to be broken, but somehow this one had broke. So what you want to do is you want to grab the seal and then put it back in the little spacing right there. So we're just going to I'm going to put this part that's broken more towards the top up here, and then I'm just going to feed it into the spacing in here that it has, the little channel, and then we are going to put our triangle piece right back in its spot. So just try to do the best you can. It can get a little tricky on putting this rubber gasket back in there, but hopefully it doesn't give you too much trouble. So far it's been pretty good on my side. Okay, so once you get that on there, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our triangle piece, and we are just going to put it in place and snap it in. So as you can see, there's going to be those tabs, one up here, and then 2 here on the sides. Now, as you heard the snaps, it snaps. So now that part's good. Now here's the other part. This is how pretty much it looks like now. I think it looks really good. It looks really stealthy, I would say. So with these cables, when you pull them, don't pull on them very hard. Just pull on enough until it stops. Once it stops, don't pull anymore, because you don't want to rip the cable off from the inside of the LED. That's as far both of these cables will go. Even though we are not going to be connecting this from this side, I am going to leave everything intact on the bike. So I'm just going to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and put this in, and this just presses right back into the center hole over there. So just go ahead and make sure when you put it in that this part is sticking out this way, because if you put it in this way, it will fit, but it's actually, there's a spot that actually this part will fit into it better. So make sure that this part is facing that way, and then just poke it right back inside. Alright, so now that we got that in there, we are not going to be connecting this because we're not going to need any light to shine through here because we did black it out. So all we're going to do is we're just going to tuck the cable inside like so and just leave it like that. As for now, we could just go ahead and we could put our covers back on. As soon as you put the covers back on, just lock them and then you will be already set and done for this part. Like I was saying, so I wanted to mention that there's going to be these notches on the plastic here, so you want to make sure that when you slide your cover, and if you look on the cover, you're going to see that there's these little notches here also. So those are going to correspond with the ones here on the plastic. So when you put it, just make sure that those slide in together. So let's go ahead and put that on there. And then once everything's tight, that's when you want to reinstall those screws, but I'll show you that in a second. Okay, once you have your bracket on there, then you make sure that the tabs are lined up perfectly, and now you're good to go. So now from the other side, from those screw holes that I had mentioned, now we want to put the screws back. So to do so, don't forget that screw that's in the middle that I just showed you on the other side. Screw over here, screw down here, and same thing on the other side, here and over here. So let's go ahead and put those screws back. So here on the headlight itself is the parts I was showing you on the fairing. So on the fairing, this right here, well, first off, that little corner slot has to go in this little hole right here on the corner of the headlight. So there's a hole right here for it and one right down there. Then there's a slot here and a slot here. So you want to make sure that the side fairing connects to all that at the same time. There's these two pegs down here and then these two pegs up here, right there and right here. And you got to make sure that those go into the headlight stay. So here on the headlight stay, as you can see, there's one right here where the peg goes into. So these are the two top ones. Then here's the two bottom ones. So once you get everything all lined up, those pegs go into those holes. Make sure you have your screws that you removed from earlier. At least get one in there now. Hold your headlight in place while you get everything else situated. Alright, not gonna lie, that was a big major pain in the butt to actually get them lined up and in there securely, but I managed to able to do it. So it's already lined up here on this side and on that side. And then after I got them lined up, I put the pegs, like I said, back into the headlight stay, and then I started putting the screws in. So I hand tightened them, and then I got the Phillips screwdriver and tightened all four spots, so the two on top and then two on the bottom. Alright, now that you've already done that also by putting the screws in, next we're going to go ahead and we are going to put the screw in for this side, which is right here. There's a screw that goes in right there, and same thing on the other side. So let's go ahead and put those screws in. Okay, now that we've already installed our two screws, one on this side and one on the other side, let's go ahead and let's grab our little plastic cover and let's go ahead and put that back in its spot. Now to put this back in its spot, like I was mentioning before, make sure that these two tabs correspond with this tab here and this tab here, and then make sure that this part goes underneath the gauge cluster on the lip. Let's go ahead and just slide them in. Okay, next let's not forget our little plastic tabs that go on the bottom part of our bike. Make sure that when you put them in that this plastic part is popped up. Once it's popped up, go ahead and install those back and then just push in on the plastic. Hear the snap. Once you hear the snap, you know it's in there securely, so go ahead and put that one in, and same thing with the other side, put that part in. Okay, next we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install our windscreen. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this back in. Now note that we do have these like little rubber grommets. If you want to make it easy for you guys, you could just go ahead and remove these for now and then reinstall them after you put the windscreen back in. So remove those two and then make sure that these tabs that you see here correspond with this hole right here. So just go ahead and just put it on there and just slide it down. Then don't forget there's these two tabs here at the bottom too. So there's 4 tabs altogether, and there's 4 holes all together on this plastic piece. After you put the windscreen on and you have all the tabs locked in place, go ahead and put these rubber grommets back in. Next we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this red piece, the red front fairing on, and then here it is. Okay, now that we have our cover on and in place, we could go ahead and we could put all the screws and the mirrors back on. Okay, now if you remembered before that we did remove a 10mm nut from the back end of this piece, now you want to go ahead and you want to put that nut back on and tighten it back in, then put this plastic piece on and put that screw back in like so. Okay, next you want to go ahead and put your bolt through here, and I'm sorry, the other one was a bolt also, it was just like this one. So let's go ahead and pop this guy back up here. Okay, now that we got our mirrors and everything right back on, next we're going to do is we're going to put our screws over here on the side, which is right over here. So there's one on the corner here and then one same thing on the other side. Okay, so the only thing that's left to do is to put the cover over here on the top and then also put the triangle piece that goes over here on that side. So make sure you do that for both sides if you did take it off for both sides. Okay, now that you're done putting everything back together, if you guys found this video helpful, please hit that like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so and hit that notification button. That way next time I post another video, you guys will get a notification that a new video has been posted. And thank you for watching. Next, let's go check on how the bike looks with the new headlights. Alright, so these multicolor LED strips that are on the headlight right now are controlled by a small little remote just like this. You also have the option to get a Bluetooth controller. So I'll have a link in the description below of where I purchased these multicolor LED strips down underneath this video. I'll also have a promotional code for you guys. Also right here in the video, you're gonna see a promotion code for these multicolor LED strips, and they'll give you a discount when you go to the website. Now, without further ado, I am going to do a short little music video for you guys so you guys can check out these awesome multicolor LED strips. And believe me guys, when you do this on your bike, you're gonna capture a lot of attention because no one out there has anything like this.